We identified their job requirements. Then we went to the company saying that, hey, do you need to employ so many number of people at what time and where? Once they gave the commitment of jobs, we went to the community, villages, towns, difficult areas, colleges. Then we sensitized the aspiring youth. This is a job available, this is salary that you'll get, and this is the career progression. Are you willing to take the job? Once they say yes, then we do the matchmaking, aptitude assessment, entry gate assessment. Somebody says he wants to become a welder, electrician, or steward, or a call center executive, or a data analyst. We match their aptitude with the job requirement. Once we match, we put them through a training program ranging from 200 hours to roughly 1,000 hours program based on each job role. It's every day 8-hour work. We exactly simulate workplace at the classroom, like a mini factory, mini classroom is set up. And we use large-scale deployment of IT, multimedia content we developed. This content is required to develop and deployed primarily because we have shortage of trainers. Standard of training needs to be ensured. Every day, 8 hours, biometric attendance comes, workplace simulation gets, workplace gets simulated in the classroom, and day in, day after, 5-day week, they are trained over weeks, and the third-part assessment, certification, and after that, we place them because we are able to place because the outcome of the training program is that 70% of the trainees shall be employed in organized industry or self-employed. If we do that, then the government of India and the provincial governments pay a certain amount per user, per trainee basis based on the outcome. So once we place them, we track them for 1 year. And we have very sophisticated IT systems in terms of tracking them, how they perform at the workplace. And this is the kind of model that we created. So who are the stakeholders? Government. Government pays per trainee X amount of money based on, for the vulnerable groups, persons with disability, religious minorities, and various other vulnerable sections government pays. Industry contributes in terms of technical knowledge, sometimes monetarily, many times in terms of standard setting. Training provider like us, we do end-to-end. We set up training center, we get the trainers, right from placement to training, assessment, certification, get it done. So this is the kind of model. And the government is its objective of paying, of assisting the people to get jobs is achieved, but they pay only an outcome based. So this addresses the concern of the government that very often the government programs tend to be misused and there is no outcome, training for the sake of training. But here the outcome being a job or increase in incomes is recognized, measured, verified, and the government pays. Private sector is very happy because the industry training is important, exactly industry simulated environment. It reduces their training duration, and it ultimately return on investment can be established. Therefore, employers are willing to pay. Trainee gets a job at the end of this training program. I think this whole ecosystem is in place. A huge amount of lessons that we have had, several challenges, and 3 important criteria that actually helped us. The speed, scale, and sustainability that we created was, as I said, we have trained and placed 1 million people over the last 10 years with about 85% placements. And every year we do about 200,000, but these numbers are like drop in the ocean. And the government has created enabling framework. That's what the lessons from India will hold good for several other countries in terms of government creating sustainable framework and where the rules of the game are understood, private sector creating models that look at this not just as philanthropy, but as a sustainable business, and industry coming forward in terms of actually taking the risk in supporting this program eminently possible. Last 30 seconds I would take, and this is not sufficient. And IBM colleague is here. We are working with your colleagues on bringing Watson Analytics onto our platform, and the future of jobs, and that the debate is there. There's a separate session on that. The automation, the artificial intelligence are going to disrupt the jobs that we have. In India, there are several studies which say 50% of the jobs that we currently understand don't exist 10 years from now. But at the same time, new jobs would be created. Existing jobs would go. It requires a completely different orientation in terms of how we approach the skills. I think one of the things that we do, forums like this, and tech leaders like IBM and others, UNDP and others need to do is peep into future and understand the context of each country and try to design a system that will be future-proof. And in this endeavor, if there is anything that we could do, and with the rich experience of working 22 provinces of India, and we'll be more than happy to be of any support. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Reddy, for this inspiring and comprehensive speech. And you covered the various aspects of the problem, actually, and we are grateful for your explanation. In a few weeks, IICPSD, Istanbul International Center for Private Sector in Development, will release a report about India's skills ecosystem, and ILNFS and its experience will be widely covered in this report. So you may refer to our website for further insight from ILFS experience. Thank you. And I would like to now introduce our last panelist, Mr. Mustafa Osman Turan. Mr. Turan is the Deputy Director General for Multilateral Economic Affairs at the Turkish Ministry of Foreign Affairs. He has more than 25 years of experience in multilateral affairs. He was the Deputy Permanent Delegate of Turkey to European Union in Brussels between 2011 and 2014. He also headed the Department on G20 outreach activities and engagement groups. He is also co-founder of a skills development initiative called InnoCampus. So he will bring his expertise from multiple dimensions, from multiple sectors, as well as his personal experience. And I would like to ask Mr. Turan, what is the role of skills, employability, and employment in the new global development agenda? And how can we empower the disadvantaged people, especially youth, through skills? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for your kind words and introduction. I listened carefully the previous speakers who gave us really insightful experiences from around the world. I guess these experiences are extremely important for all of us to learn together to address one of the, I would call, greatest challenges of our times, and that is the youth unemployment. The rising youth unemployment. I would call it, just to give you a wake-up call, I know all of you are aware of this problem because it's a problem that is existing not only in developing countries but also in the developed world. In almost all of our countries, the youth unemployment levels are three times higher than the normal unemployment levels. So this great problem, this really complex problem, creates all kinds of other problems, not only social and political, but also economic problems, because our growth rates are reduced because we cannot really tap into the potential of young people who are freshly graduated from universities or high school. So what I would like to just share with you, my experiences both from the perspective of a diplomat, so I'm a diplomat by profession, but I am an entrepreneurship and innovation enthusiast by passion. So I'll share with you from my experience from two angles. First, as a diplomat, as the chair pointed out, last year I worked in the presidency of the G20. I was involved in the employment working group of the G20, and at the end of the presidency we convinced all of the G20 countries that we have to set a quantitative target to address the youth problem in a certain period of time. And that was a demand directly coming from the young people, from the Youth 20 of the G20. So we managed that, but of course we have to implement this. And to be able to implement this target all around the world, I think we need to look at the best examples about skills training programs to address this problem of mismatch between the skills and the market needs. So first of all, I'd like to share with you, just to illustrate the problem, according to the World Bank data, 620 million young people are neither working nor studying. And UNDP's reports states that out of 104 million people currently unemployed, 74 million are young people. And we need 600 million new jobs in the next 15 years to be able to integrate youth to the workforce. And if we can't do it quickly, then we will have like lost generations in all of our countries, which may go in all kinds of different directions. And as I said, the problem is not that there are no jobs, but the nature of jobs, because of technology, because of all kinds of other reasons, depending on the market-driven factors, in fact, there are jobs, but there are not enough talented, skilled people to fill those jobs. That's the core of the problem. Now, I'd like to offer you two really interesting examples from Turkey, how Turkey is trying to deal with this problem. First, I'll give you a real-life story of a young man who was like 25 years old, well-educated, who wanted to do something in the field of design, but he didn't have enough skills to be employed by the private sector. So luckily he found a training program in Bursa, one of our big cities, where Chamber of Trade and Industry was successfully conducting for some time now. And after he got his training here, which was very well designed to really meet the demands of the private sector, he received the sufficient level of training and developed his skills. So he was able to find one of the most difficult jobs in the advertisement industry as a junior art director. And later on, he won several awards internationally. So that real-life example shows that if these training programs are designed according to the needs of the private sector, they are really effective. So another example I'd like to share with you, and this is really important, this is from a personal, as I said, point of view, is InnoCampus. What InnoCampus does is something very important. It moves. It's not stable, it moves. And it moves, it has mobility. It's composed of shipping containers, and there are like 3 shipping containers which can be carried from city to city, wherever you would like to take them. And the reason why it's important is because we need to make our economies more inclusive. So if you provide these skills training in big cities, like a lot of young people or people in general cannot really have an access to them. So it's also important to take these spaces where skills are provided also in remote areas, secondary cities, disadvantaged groups, marginalized areas. So this is what InnoCampus does. It has also been designed taking into account best practices around the world which would appeal to young people. This is a space where young people can collaborate and work together and learn from each other. It's a space where they can learn together in a very informal and interactive environment. It's a place where they can make, not only learn, but they can make. They can use 3D printers to prototype their ideas. They can use laser cutters to prototype their ideas. They are exposed to new technologies in this training program, so it's not just classroom-style training. So just to finish up, I'd like to argue that, as I said in the beginning, youth unemployment is a time bomb. If we don't deal with it, we'll really have much worse problems than we have now, also because of the exponential growth of the new technologies, which will render a lot of other people jobless. So we need these kind of best practices from all around the world to be applicable in different circumstances. And one thing that we have to keep in mind is that our education systems are obsolete to really meet the demands of the new industrial revolution. Our current public education systems are designed according to the needs of the previous industrial revolution, and everybody is specialized in a given topic. Now times are changing. The private sector needs people who are able to navigate in multicultural environments, in having skills in various different areas. So to really expose young people to such new ideas, we have to develop these programs and spaces where the needs of the private sector would be better met and the young people are employed. Thank you.
Thank you for these two inspiring stories, and also they were inspiring because they are coming from your experience. We felt in our hearts, and I would like to bring two key messages from the speech of our panelists. First, the people, especially the youth, need to possess the right skills to access employment and career development opportunities. And more importantly, skills are the pathways towards personal fulfillment and growth. And to conclude with our thanks to the organization committee and International Cooperation Platform on behalf of the panelists and our guests. Thank you.
Thank you to our moderator, Gökhan, Dikmener, and our panelists for their great contribution. May I please now kindly invite Ms. Gülçin Salıngan, UNDP Deputy Director, to present the plug of honor to our moderator and our panelists. Thank you once again for this panel, Private Sector-Led Skills Generation for Inclusive Growth and Human Development. Our distinguished guests, our next panel will start right away. Thank you once again to our moderator, Gökhan Dikmener, and our great panelists for their great contribution in this panel.